Today I'm talking about chain oil, and what I like to use on this particular bike is a product called Maury's Heavy Duty Oil Stabiliser. It's a really thick oil, it's a really clingy, which I like. Works out in Australia around $25–30 for a 1 litre container, and in 1 litre I suppose it could give you possibly around at least 30 chain lubes, so works out pretty cheap at around about $1 a lube. Over the years I've been using this product mainly on cars, so that's been my background, mainly in cars. A couple of years back I decided to use it and try it on motorcycle chains, and it's pretty safe for all internals on the car, especially on the rubber O-seals, and take into account, if you look at a motorcycle chain, it's on a Classic 500 especially, it's 102 link, and they're all got O-rings or along the chain, so this particular product won't hurt the O-rings on that chain. And the best thing about something clingy with a heavyweight oil is it's not liable to throw a huge amount of spray all over your wheels, up over the frame and everything else. Although this did throw a little bit on the bike, you take into account, since I put it on at 500 kilometres and I've now got 735, I've done 235 kilometres, and there's not much fling around on the bike, and you take into account that I did put a very heavy application on just for this test, so that I could give you a better idea what would happen if you put a lot on. Now, another good thing when you apply this product, if you put your bike up in the centre stand and rotate the wheel, it just drips down like what you'd expect to pour it on, like treacle or honey. And the best thing, it won't just drip down all over the garage floor and make a big mess like if you were just oiling it with something else. Now, I've also tried all the other sort of chain lubes and waxes, and I still like this one better. So, like, I'm not saying go out and buy this product, I'm just saying it works all right for me. So I'm pretty happy with it. And if you look at 235 kilometres, and I give it a heavy application, I'm pretty happy with how things are going on it like that. So it's just something, something for you to think about if you want an alternative to try. It may be just what you want. More importantly, it works out nowhere near the price what the others are. When I've used them a couple of times on the spray can, sat them there for a few weeks, tried to come back and hit them again, half the time the aerosol cans don't work, and you either have to puncture it and try to get the product out, or just toss them in the bin. At least this one's just in an ordinary bottle, or the squirt bottle, tip it upside down, just let it pour on. So at this stage I'm pretty impressed with how it's working for the last couple of years. I could say the bike actually runs smoother with the stuff on it too, but I won't go that far. I just say it's a pretty good product, I think, because it's also used in all parts of the internals of a motor vehicle, so it's safe for any rubber seals and that. While I'm at it, I might as well tell you that I've clocked up nearly 500 kilometres since my last oil change, or the first oil change on this bike at 250. So by the time I get home I've already done 500. It'll be interesting to see when I pull the oil, change the filter, and just see if I got much rubbish on that big magnet underneath the sump. See if it pulled that much junk this time. Actually, there's a little bit more to this property here in meets the eye. As you come here, so looking back 25 years ago, I was virtually a professional woodcutter. Came into this place here because a friend of mine at that stage said, there's a place out along such and such. I know the guy, he said you can go in there and cut a bit of wood. And I bought me at a smaller truck at the time, came in through this paddock here. Nothing's much changed in 25 years. I headed off down through this paddock, headed down into the back area there, came up across a standing white box tree, and like I said, I used to cut wood for a living, so I had a Stihl 084 chainsaw, which was a pretty big chainsaw for around this area. They're 122cc, so they can handle anything that you put in front of them. So I just went down into this paddock, went in there, cut, I think, the couple of tonne of wood in about an hour or something like that, and a little bit longer to load it. Went out, took it home, cashed it. So, the guy who told me about it said, how'd you go? And I said, good. He said, around the other side, where it backs into the cemetery, he's got a really nice yellow box tree, you ought to knock it over. So, cut a long story short, a couple of days later I went around to that other side, and I was down there and I knocked over this box tree, which would have been about 4 tonne. So I'm there cutting that tree up, and all of a sudden this bloke comes down through the paddock blowing the horn in this bloody four-wheel drive, gets out of the car waving his hands. He said, "What do you bloody think you're doing?" And I said, such and such said it was okay to cut some wood here, because he spoke to you. He said, "You're your mate," and everything was good. And he said, "Well, since when does he bloody well own the property?" And I said, What, so there's no permission here to cut wood?" He said, "Of course there's bloody not." He said, "I don't even know him." And I thought, shit, I am in trouble now. So after that, to cut a long story short again, I just had to, look, I'm sorry about that. How about my mistake? I cut up this wood for you and leave it, and sorry about the inconvenience at all. So I got out of that pretty easy. I just cut up all the wood, the tree I'd knocked down for him, got out of it. Never even mentioned I'd been there a couple of days earlier and cut down the other tree in the top part of his paddock, and that certainly caused me some drama there. But I had to go back and say to that mate of mine, "Look at the bloody trouble you caused me in that wood paddock." And all he did is put a cigarette in his mouth, lit her up, just laughed about it and said, "You should have checked first." So that's one thing you should learn about wood cutting. But on today's market, what happened 25 years ago cutting down standing trees in Australia, well, that's virtually illegal now, and you can't come in now and cut down trees, and all the rules have changed. So they're very touchy now, what goes. But that was an interesting story to this place, and I've never been back after that to cut any wood, and actually I got no interest in wood at all. Oh, I don't mind. Look, there's a nice white box tree sitting right there, but that live tree there. People who don't know anything about wood, white box trees, one of the hardest trees to cut. And the weight of them, it's hard to believe. And then nearly every white box tree you get, they're that hard to cut. They've always got mainly termite nests up the middle of them. They are really a problem. But anyway, apart from that, this bike's going good now. A couple of other things. I'll just check now and see if my magnet's still sitting underneath, which it is. So it'll be interesting to see how much rubbish there. I'm also testing a new anti-vibration glove, which I'll be checking out later. It's got absorbing pads there in the palm, up in this section here, up in the fingers. They look alright. But today is really about chain oil, and I think when you look at that chain, got a bit off track there, that chain looks good to me, and we'll see how it goes. So once again, thanks for calling in, taking a look, and we'll catch up on the next clip, and hope you got a bit out of this tip, and I'll give you a link to that product, or I'll give you a look at it and you can see what you reckon.